In this update, we're watching several areas of disturbed weather over the next 7 days. We're going to break down the details for you in this update. Take a look at the overall setup. First, we've got this area of low pressure that's been really inundating much of southern Florida over the last 3 days. In fact, some areas have picked up 20 inches of heavy rainfall, and we've got yet another area moderate risk for excessive rainfall down in that region. We'll also be watching another area of disturbed weather down here towards the Yucatan into the Bay of Campeche. That's going to be slowly trying to develop while we have the ridge of high pressure that's been really dominating a good part of the west and the southwest, while we've got much cooler air that will be coming in from the northwest and along into the upper Midwest. That's where we could see some severe storms later on this afternoon. So we've got a lot happening in the weather department as we take a look at the satellite picture. But about 4, 5, 6 o'clock, as we kind of heat it up in the atmosphere, yes, we'll have another conveyor belt of storms really highlighted across much of central and southern Florida, with more heavy rain and flash flood warnings for that region. But we'll also be watching severe storms that's going to be breaking out across much of Kansas, as well as into Missouri, back into Illinois later on this afternoon, with all three modes of severe storms and, in fact, an upgraded and enhanced risk for that area. But we'll also be talking about the heat as it really starts to build as we go into, summertime officially starts next week. And we've got widespread triple digits already, but it's pretty cool up there across much of the west and the Pacific Northwest. And in fact, it actually gets even cooler as we go into the next couple of days. But this is the main concern, right, where they have some of that weakness in the ridge later on this afternoon, where we are going to be seeing some storms literally break out across that boundary. So we do have an upgraded enhanced risk for all three modes of severe weather highlighted across Kansas City, back towards Springfield, into central and northern portions of Illinois. But don't take your guard down. It could extend all the way up into Grand Rapids, extending into Wichita. But within that enhanced risk, that's where we could be seeing the areas of rotation and could see some isolated spin-up tornadoes later on this afternoon, with some of those could be very large hail producers and that 2-inch plus variety range, as we get into the heat of the afternoon. But yeah, their area of concern this afternoon will be highlighted across much of South Florida. Yes, we do have, unfortunately, with that little low pressure center, it's only about a 20% chance of developing, but it's just taking its sweet time moving across the state. And as it does, it's going to come out on the other side and still leave a conveyor belt of moisture in its wake. So yes, we're expecting more heavy rain, unfortunately, for that region. And of course, right where that boundary is, we'll be looking at some more heavy rain highlighted across Iowa, back into Missouri, as well as into Illinois. But I think about 5, 6 o'clock, especially around 7, we are going to be seeing more numerous showers and thunderstorms. So as we heat it up further south, there's the instability as we head into 6 o'clock this afternoon. But further north will be highlighted across Kansas, but especially a little bit more concerning for those areas into northern Missouri, southern portions of Iowa, and especially into central and northern Illinois. Those are the ones that are going to be more concerning, with some very large hail and some isolated spin-ups, tornadoes within that 4 to 10 o'clock time frame window. And you can't let your guard down further into Michigan as well, back in towards the Grand Rapids region. But taken out to the tropics, as we are in hurricane season, there's those two areas of disturbed weather. That's this disturbed weather. That's a 20% probability that's coming across Florida now. But once it swings off into the other side, into the southeast, and it could be going out in the open waters, I mean, it's probably not going to form. But yeah, right now it's a 20% probability. A higher chance of probability trying to form is that little area of disturbed weather down in the Bay of Campeche. Right now, the NHC has highlighted a 40% probability, and it's going to take its sweet time. It's still going to be with us for even into the middle part of next week. It's still going to be sitting down there in the Bay of Campeche, so it's not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So the longer it festers down there, it could develop into a low level center. But as we head into tomorrow, for your Friday, yeah, that instability just continues to push across to the east. Now it's going to be highlighted across a good part of the northeast as well. Now those areas back into Baltimore, into Philly, as well as into Hartford, even further north into the Concord region, those could be some larger hail producers and definitely some damaging winds of upwards of that 60 to possibly 65 mile per hour range, extending in portions of the DC region. And it's kind of the same deal around 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the heat of the afternoon. We are going to be seeing some of those isolated bubblers starting to bubble up across, eastern portions of Pennsylvania, northern portions of New Jersey, back into Long Island, extending into areas of Massachusetts and Connecticut, going into those areas of southern portions of Vermont and New Hampshire. Even you can't rule out some severe storms extending into the state of Maine as well, while be watching more instability start to form across New Mexico into in and around the Denver region, eastern Colorado region. Those areas could see some more severe storms as we bubble up the atmosphere in the heat of the afternoon. But if you break it down for the next 48 hours, it's kind of what it looks like, right? Under that ridge of high pressure, it's got a lot of sinking air. So much of the country is not going to be experiencing any rain conditions over the next 48 hours. It's really highlighted across where that low pressure is in central and southern Florida. Could see some more flooding rains across that region. And where that boundary comes across into the upper Midwest, that will swing across into the mid-Atlantic and get into the Northeast with some heavier rains in the portions of the 1 to 2 inch variety range for the next 48 hours. But, going a little bit deeper, 5 days from now, there's that disturbed weather still basically kind of sitting there down in there into the Bay of Campeche. Is going to take its sweet time. I think once a ridge of high pressure, once this low pressure kind of moves out, a ridge of high pressure will be starting to build across a good part of the southeast. That's going to force this system to push westbound, and as it does, again, it's going to be kind of festering down there into the Bay of Campeche. That's about an 80-90% on some of the ensemble guidance. It could develop a low-level center and form a tropical depression by the time we get into the middle of next week. Before your weekend, we'll be watching the ridge really building to the north. So there's the ridge of high pressure starting to build by Sunday into the southeast. That's going to force this system more westbound towards the Yucatan. And further north, we'll be watching more ridging starting to expand and build, with another cooler pocket aloft highlighted across Iowa, getting into Minnesota. That's where we could be seeing some possibly more severe storms heading into Monday. So the ridge of high pressure is going to be shifting and really highlighted across a good part of the Northeast. We're going to be seeing plenty of records fall across that region with widespread 90s, as we won't be talking record temperatures. We'll be talking cooler, much cooler conditions for a good part of the West and the Pacific Northwest, with some of these high temperatures in the 60s. So look at the anomalies, folks. I mean, a lot of deep purplish kind of showing up on the map for the middle of June. That's a welcome sight. That's definitely some cooler, chillier air for June standards. And it's really warm. So where it's very warm, you're going to have record high temperatures across a good part of the Ohio Valley and much of the mid-Atlantic and to the Northeast. And it's just these cooler pockets where you're going to be seeing this tropical inflow of moisture that could keep the temperatures down across especially the coastal regions down in the deep south. But yes, by Monday, with that cooler pocket aloft, we'll be looking at more severe storms likely that we saw yesterday, more unfolding across the same regions back into Sioux Falls, in and around the Minneapolis region, up towards Grand Forks, all the way into the Canadian border with severe storms. But yes, by the time we head into Monday, there's that little system just kind of sitting and spinning down there into the Bay of Campeche. It's probably going to get close enough by then where it could spread its outer bands, essentially some tropical rains across that region. And it's likely going to unfold starting into your Monday and probably amplify as we get into Tuesday, and then shift further south into the Rio Grande Valley on Wednesday, as this system will more likely push into Mexico or down there in Central America. But overall, for the north, we'll be talking about the heat. So going into Tuesday, plenty of heat, those plenty of record high temperatures, potentially 18 unfolding. But yeah, look at that chillier air. If you want to escape the heat this time of year, just head northwest, folks. You've got widespread 70s for highs across a good part of the Washington and Oregon. You get down in the 50s once you swing over into Idaho, into Montana. So that's not going to feel like summer up there. It's going to feel a little bit chilly, across that region. But yes, you can see where the warmth is widespread across a good part of the Southwest and much of Texas and the southern and central plains. And that just extends to the Ohio Valley with a lot of 90s kind of showing up on the map. All those circles there are record high temperatures producing into the Northeast. And look at Caribou checking in almost 90 degrees by the time we head into your Tuesday of next week. So yeah, it's plenty of warmth on the way. And I think that ridge just kind of expands and amplifies. Of course, we're going into summer. That officially starts next Thursday. And then it's really Wednesday, right? This, I told you, is going to take its sweet time. Most ensembles have just that area of low pressure still sitting down there into the Bay of Campeche. This could be low enough where it could be, I guess, again, a little weak tropical depression or possibly a weak tropical storm forming. But a lot of the guidance with the ridge highlighted across over the top is going to continue to push this further westbound and likely extend into Mexico. So if you break it down for the next 7 days, we kind of look like this, okay, right? I mean, you got the ridge of high pressure moving in from the southwest, not much rain to speak of. Much cooler anomalies across a good part of the far northern portions of the Pacific Northwest, especially in Idaho and Montana with some chillier rains. But where the instability is and where the severe storms are going to lie over the next, 5 to 7 days is mainly highlighted across a good part of the upper Midwest, and especially for those areas into Minnesota, back into Wisconsin. Then, of course, you have the dry slot underneath with the ridge of high pressure. But just these coastal areas, right, with these low pressure centers further south, and it could be close enough to the coast into the deep south towards, New Orleans, back into Mobile, back into Baton Rouge, likely into portions of Houston, Victoria, those areas down to the Rio Grande Valley. But further north, it's probably not going to get there because most of the instability will be shifting into the Gulf of into Mexico by then. So if you extend it even beyond that, as we head into next Friday, this is kind of what it looks like on most ensemble guidances, as the ridge of high pressure will just be expanding and dominating even further by then, as the first, heading into summer time frame, as that low pressure center will likely be extended into Mexico or down there in Central America by then. So guys, I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and catch me next update, why I protect you before and after the storm.